And so ended up exiting out of that. And that was, it's funny that I happened to buy those, but there was certainly not a idea that there was a strategy around buying and selling businesses. It was a lot more that it was just like, hey, like I need a job, I need something that's going to generate some income, and it's not going to be starting something from scratch. And so this was the first time, seeing that I bought a company and I exited and grew the company through mergers. That was the first time that I realized, oh, okay, this is something that could be a real strategy of just buying a company, growing it and selling it. So it's funny, it took me 7 to 8 years just to realize that this was my strategy, just because, when we think about owning a business, 99% of the information out there is all about go and take the risk and start a business from scratch. Nobody talks about buying a business. So I had to kind of just stumble in the dark and happen to realize looking back, and that was kind of my lesson there. And so that's when I got really aggressive about this strategy of finding businesses, growing them through acquisitions and kind of leveraging the deal maker skill set and then exiting out of those deals.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit more, because I think that you are correct. And when I think about private equity, I have my MBA, and there are quite a few people, with my background or skill set that goes into private equity. You usually think about buying and selling like large industrial companies or shopping complexes or Kohl's or, something, to that side. You think about KKR, you think about Barbarians at the Gate, you think about the 1980s, right? Like those are just the things that come to my mind when I think of private equity in general, right? But I never really thought about private equity in terms of buying and selling internet businesses. And I don't think most people thought about it as well. And also, I never thought about doing it as an individual versus doing it as a huge team of people that's going to buy this multi-billion-dollar asset. So can you give me the real deal as it relates to being in private equity on this, I guess, micro scale or this smaller scale in terms of internet businesses and so forth?
Yeah. And so at this point, I was still buying both offline and internet businesses. But the thing that I love about this micro space is you're able to buy things at a really low multiple. So the average deal that I was closing was at a 2 to 3 multiple. What that means is, if it's generating 100,000 a year, you're going to be able to buy it for 200 to 300,000. Now, one of the things that I realized is if you can put a down payment of 50,000, 100,000 even, but most of the deals I was doing, it was pretty highly leveraged, then your ROI, you can get your cash out of that deal in 3 months, 6 months, especially if you're able to grow the business at all. And now you've got that free to go and do the next deal. And this one continues making money for you. And it's what, when you talk about those larger private equity funds, it's the same thing that they've done. And probably the greatest example has been Berkshire Hathaway, which it just wants to get capital efficient businesses that are generating a ton of cash. And then they're going to take that cash and reinvest it into buying more cash. And that was the shift for me at that point was, we're even as an entrepreneur, what you're doing is you're trading your time for money. You as the entrepreneur have to trade your time for money. And it's a lot more scalable to figure out where can I raise a little bit of money and trade this money. If Warren Buffett had to try to come up with enough ideas to generate the cash that they've generated, it would have never happened. What he's good at is just, all right, I'm going to take this cash and then I'm going to buy more cash. And that was the shift for me, was realizing, all right, instead of me working for income, whether it's as an employee as a self-employed person or even as an entrepreneur that's starting a business, it's going to be a lot quicker. I'm going to build a lot more wealth if I can buy things at a low multiple, which means, deals that are under a $5 million kind of watermark. In most cases, you're going to be able to buy at that low multiple range. When you get into competing for those bigger deals, I just don't like having to wait 7-8 years to get all my money back. It's less risky if I can get all my money back in a 2 to 3 year range. And so it's like owning a piece of real estate, but instead of that real estate having a renter that's going to pay it off in 15, 20, 30 years, it's having a piece of real estate that's going to pay itself off in 2 years.